Hello from GBC land. This is Zach.
And this is Victor.
Ready to have our second Best of series.
Can't believe it.
2020 was the first year was the first time we had put something together like this. This year we expanded, did a lot more rides. We have kits. We actually have merchandise now. Just wanted to first thank all the Patreon supporters that have helped donate and help support our cause. It feels great to have people out there and really have helped make these videos possible and looking for more adventures to come. So thank you. One ride I want to talk about quickly, which isn't eligible but would probably be a high candidate for Ride of the Year, was Onion Valley. I did that on a gravel bike that was on 32s, but I tell you, it is about a 14-mile climb, harder than Ventoux, Tourmalet, and the scenery of the Owens Valley is just outstanding.
Well, you have to make it clear that wasn't actually a gravel ride. That's why it doesn't count.
Well, to me, every ride is a gravel ride as long as it's an adventure. Could always add that on after you've done a lot of dirt.
Yeah.
But before we get in, we're going to go and talk a little bit about our superlatives. You know, basically, you remember those from your high school yearbook, right?
You mean like most likely to do something extraordinary?
Yes, class clown.
Oh.
So we're doing the same thing, but a little bit lighter before we get into the inner workings of our best of. So first, Vic, what was your most surprising ride of the year?
Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. My most surprising ride of the year was Yankee Gyms. And it was only surprising because the topography differs so much from what I'm used to in Southern California. That was up north. It felt like I was very, very high up in the mountains, but we started about 12 or 1,500 feet. And by the time we got to 3,000 feet, it felt like we were at 7,000 feet. But we got to the beautiful part so quickly, it kind of took me by surprise.
Yeah, that was a really intriguing ride. You really started to get a sense of people that were gold mining of the day and the camps, even though it was such a brief period of time.
I can't imagine coming through there in a covered wagon. Shout out to the downers.
For me, my surprising ride of the year was our Redlands adventure. You know, the people from Strada Rosa showed us around and really was a different ride of anything that I had expected. You know, we went on probably like 15 trails and they all had their own little mark. And it was just kind of like bang, 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 bang. When Strada Rosa comes next year, like I know the course changes every time and I probably won't even see most of that course.
I agree. It was probably the most diverse segments that I've ever ridden. Some pretty good views too.
We didn't have this category last year, I believe, but our most toughest ride of the year.
I think for me, the toughest ride was Figueroa Mountain. And it's because of some of the descents as opposed to the climbs, where it was just rut after giant rock. And you had to navigate through that on relatively skinny tires. I run 40s on my bike. Typically you would think a climb is the hardest, but this was the descents. And I like descending. I think that's my forte, and I just was creeping along on a lot of that. So what would you say?
For me, it was gravel bulldogs. You know, we've done Puerco, we've done Calabasas Peak before, but when you combine all those climbs on top of already going out Paseo Miramar through Topanga State Park, that is, you know, a hefty lot. You know, Puerco is probably one of the toughest gravel climbs you'll have in the Santa Monica Mountains. And then after holding on down Bulldog, you make your way up Calabasas Peak, which is another contender for the toughest climb. I think you have about a half mile where you climb around 15%. So factor in the heat. I think everyone just realized we're all sharing that physical struggle. It was a great ride.
Calabasas Peak is like the mystical climb that I haven't done. And sounds like I can still wait on that one for a minute.
Now, another one, this came up to me, said this has to be a category. Prettiest moment of the year. What is yours?
I, again, struggled with this one because there were so many pretty moments. But I think when we did Truckee, and all of it was beautiful, but we were descending and we descended down into a field and a beautiful stream and these little weird buildings in the middle of nowhere. And I just thought, man, unless you had a bike or you could hike a hell of a long time, you're not gonna see this. It was so beautiful, and it just made me realize, not realize, but just affirms how much I love gravel riding, because you just don't see these types of things on normal rides.
Well, mine was clear, and once again, it may not be a gravel ride, but because of the snow, I was very glad I took wider tires, and that is Glacier Point in Yosemite. The one moment where you're about 75% of the way towards the end, and all of a sudden you make a turn and Half Dome sweeps in front of you. The scale of it is just majestic. I took advantage of the one week where it was closed to just cyclists. Then once you made it to the end and you could look into Yosemite Valley, see El Capitan, Yosemite Falls, and just even a broader view of Half Dome, you just kind of felt like it was so quiet and silent that you were like, man, I feel like I'm the first person to ever lay eyes on it.
That's epic. Wow.
So another new feature we added about in the springtime was GBC Live, where we went on to Instagram and we had a ton of great guests. I really don't want to go through like the best of, because we really had a fantastic panel of guests.
Fantastic. You got to name a few. I mean, Peter Stetina? I mean, wow.
Everyone was so gracious and so much fun. And it's like, to me, it's more a little recency bias, but Eric Cedeno, Kathy Pruitt,
Amanda Nauman,
Sam Ames, just like, it's just, you can keep going down the list, because that's what really made the series so much fun, was that everybody just was really into it and, you know, loved gravel. So we're looking to continue the series next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we're going to finally get what you've been waiting for, the best of. Now, we kind of like did the list a little bit differently because I recorded a lot more. So I'm gonna do a top 6 and Vic's gonna do a top 3. But before I get into the bottom of my list, I just wanted to add as an honorable mention, Wilder Ranch State Park in Santa Cruz. It definitely would have been eligible for the list had I had more time and had a chance to see more. But what I saw on that short ride, just along the coast and then kind of into the redwoods, which Larry showed me around, that was a fantastic ride. So now, without a drum roll, I'm gonna get into this. Okay, my number 6, Angeles Oaks. You know, last year, really high up on our list was the Big Bear ride, and we really loved the San Bernardino National Forest. So we had the Redlands guys show us around, and to me, it had everything I wanted, just like the Big Bear ride. Starting off on a closed highway, I love the history of that, and then kind of going, you know, up and above. My number 5 was Cayucas off the Central Coast. This loop can be taken in from Paso Robles or Templeton, but you know, it follows a lot of the Arroyo route, except maybe in reverse. The gravel itself was some of the best conditions I had. Santa Rita Road, Cypress Mountain, but also when you got to the top of Old Creek, which is a tough climb of its own, and just the views of the Pacific were fantastic. My number 4 was Figueroa Mountain. And many people know that is a epic road ride, and it is. But we added some extra dirt into Happy Valley. It might have been only about 7 miles of dirt, but it just was a lot of fun to go deeper into the forest there. The descent was a little tricky, but not as bad as we expected, even though we had one flat. But the climb out and everything, and you could have shortened it, but I know that other people on this call may not have been happy about the extra climb we added, but I definitely like doing the lollipop and heading back.
I didn't mind the extra climb. It was longer than I expected, but it paid off at the end.
All right, entering Vic. What's your number 3?
My number 3 will be Gold Creek. And I really like Gold Creek because it's very close to my house and I had no idea it was even there. And it was really fun riding with Troy and David of Road Bike Action. Those guys are super fast and they knew their way around. It has some single track elements that are just tough enough. And then you just blast out of there in some crazy double track. It was really, really fun. I'm so glad they showed me that ride.
My number 3 is Truckee. We had Mark Jacobson show us around, and just the variety of trails up there on top of the elevation, being there in the Tahoe National Forest, was a potpourri of gravel action. Some of it was a little technical, but you can definitely find your way around it. But you drive by on the 80 and you look up there and you want to ride up there and you get what you expect.
Absolutely. Actually, Truckee is my number 2.
Oh.
And Truckee, it was easily one of the most beautiful rides that we've done. Everywhere was green, everywhere. And it wasn't just trees, it was like little shrubs that you crashed into, thank you very much. It was flowers that I'd never seen, what they call dog ears or elephant ears. What were those weird? Anyway, it was really, really pretty. And I've never seen terrain quite like it. So I really enjoyed Truckee. I thought that was fantastic.
My number 2 was Old Kaz. This has been a staple on the Grasshopper series for many years. Hopefully it'll be brought back, but Bill and I went up there. We were very lucky to catch Cazadero Creek at a low point when we made across. Once again, you get to go through redwoods, you get to go through the historic train part as well. It just has a very small feel along the Russian River. And then Willow Creek, which is a very nice stable climb, was a fun way just to exit back into Occidental. We did try and peek out onto Highway 1, but it's just amazing how quickly conditions can change across the coast. Yeah, that was just a fun ride. That's another one I would probably try and reverse.
You ready? Interestingly, your number 6 is my number 1.
Oh.
And that is Angeles Oaks. And Angeles Oaks, when we first parked, where we parked was kind of like on a busy 2-lane highway. And we started off, I was thinking, I don't know about this. And the second we turned onto the single track to start, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And it just kept getting better and better. From the way it flowed, from the way it undulated up and down, from the way it connected to just one cool thing to the next. Even the road sections of that were really, really cool. That where it was raining on us when we went up to that top of that field, that out and back thing, and that view from that spot. What was it called? It was
Poop Out Hill.
Poop Out Hill. Oh my goodness, it was just fantastic. I just loved every pedal stroke of that. I wish it weren't so far away. I would definitely go there a lot more often. That's my number 1.
Okay.
What's yours? You want a drum roll?
Please. Mine is Mount Tam. It was really tough picking out because I felt like I had 6 rides that were really close.
Yeah.
But Mount Tam, mixed in with its history, Craig Dalton of the Gravel Ride podcast showed me around. I'm sure he's done it many times, but we have the same feeling when we get to go on a special ride. When you crawl up there and he shows all these little ways of wiggling up, but you see the Pacific Ocean, the Golden Gate Bridge, layer upon layer. That is special enough as it is. And then the other parts of the ride where we went down Laurel Dell, just kind of like along the ridgeline there, up to the Miwok Trail. It just had so many different elements. And it wasn't, it was under 40 miles, but it just packed so much in. That was a great experience to have, and it held.
Sounds like good bang for the buck.
There you have it. If you want to learn about these rides, we have links at the bottom that shows a map of all of our rides across the state, so they're easier to find. And of course, we look forward to adding more in 2022.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Let's do it.
Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, or support us on Patreon, or once again, even this helps out a little bit, so we can bring you more.
From the state of dirt.